We are presented by WinBet. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WinBet. Eric Allen here at One Jets Drive, joined by Jets cornerbacks coach / defensive assistant, senior defensive assistant, Tony Oden, T.O. So great to have you up here finally.
I appreciate it. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, let's take this back to 1999.
Goodness, 1999. Okay.
Tony Oden, the head coach of Army's JV team, huh?
That's right. That's right. No,
What was that experience like?
Oh, it was phenomenal. The year before, I was the defensive coordinator for it. The person that had the head coach role before moved on, so I was elevated for that year. But it was phenomenal. I tell people all the time, talk about my experiences at West Point. It was precious. I felt like you were part of something special. You know, you got the future leaders of the world there, but they're normal guys. You know, before I went there, I thought they were going to be all but
Really?
they're normal. They laugh. They jump. I mean, they're us. They're our brothers or sisters. They're us. But it was awesome. It was a great opportunity for me to look at things from a global perspective as opposed to a position-specific perspective. You know, trying to bring everybody together, talk to them pregame, halftime, you know, making slight adjustments, communicating with the offense during the game as well as the defense. So it was great, but it was fun. You know, it wasn't a lot of – I put pressure on myself because you want to do well.
Right.
But it wasn't like it was on TV or anything like that, you know. So the pressure wasn't as high as it is in the higher stakes games, but it was unbelievable. Perfect. I loved it. I love West Point. Love it.
How different is it coaching men at West Point who everybody is going to have to, when they're done, go and serve?
Well, fortunately, when I coached there, we weren't at war.
Right.
You know, and we hadn't been for a while. So it wasn't one of those things that was on the foremost front of their minds. You know, obviously knew it was always a possibility those things could happen. But you just felt like you're a part of something special. It made me a better coach because of their work ethic that they have to have internally before they even come, and also the work ethic that they're taught while they're there. They're very, very intelligent. They're forward-thinking. They're problem solvers. So I always had to have my meetings right. You know, if I said something in the meeting room, I better back it up on the field.
Yeah.
You know, because they would call me out in a minute, in a good way. So, but it made me become a better coach, more detailed. Be able to develop an economy of words when coaching, you know, not rambling, and those kind of things. But it was an awesome experience, priceless.
And then your career took off. Obviously, those are the early stages of your career. But what did you like about the position, being the head coach, being the guy?
It was good, but you know, there was nothing that I was doing or we were doing or the coaches before me who had that position that was anything different than what we're already doing. You know, in that role, you want to make sure you're complimenting what our varsity guys were doing. So our defenses were the same, the calls were the same, but it just felt different being in front of the room when all eyes are on you. You know, it's totally different. It's different when you're in the back of the room as opposed to the front of the room. When they're listening to you for motivation, they're looking to you for answers, they're looking to you for game time decisions, you know, accepting penalties and those kind of things. But like I said before, because it wasn't a high-pressure game, even though I put pressure on myself because I wanted to do well, I didn't feel it externally.
Right.
You know, which adds a whole nother variable to it. You know, but it was excellent. Like I said, it was a priceless experience for me to have the opportunity to do. So it was awesome.
Some would make the argument that Robert Saleh is not in this seat right now had it not been for T.O. in 2005. Can you talk about that specific experience with you and Robert early on in your NFL coaching careers?
Right. Well, first of all, I would say he probably would, because of the man he is, he probably would be in that seat. Yeah. He would just probably had to find a different avenue. It wouldn't have been in that instance. But I was coaching college after I left West Point a couple years. Found myself at Central Michigan. Mm-hmm. When I was there, he was already there as a graduate assistant. And I believe that was in 2003 at the time, going into the 2004 season. I had a chance to talk to him and watch some of the things that he did from a preparation standpoint in that supportive role. I thought was pretty sharp and innovative. I learned from it. I used some of the things that he taught me on the computer, and then I got in the NFL with the Houston Texans for that year. And to make a long story short, I replaced 2 people, so I had a heavy workload.
Right.
So the next year, they allowed me to bring someone else in, and there was no other person that I wanted to bring in other than him because of the impression that he left on me just within that 2 or 3 months that I was there with him at Central Michigan. So he came in and obviously did an awesome job down there for us as a quality control coach in 2005, like you mentioned. And then I left to go on to New Orleans Saints, and he stayed there and got better and better and better and exposed to more people, other coaches, other family trees. So they were able to see what I saw and what other people saw before he even got to Central Michigan, that he was a star in the making.
He said a star in the making.
Oh,
what was he like in '05? Because
same guy.
Really?
Energetic, like I said, forward-thinking, very progressive in some of the things that he would do. You didn't have to ask him to do much because it was already going to get done. If he saw a need, we had questions in the staff room about doing certain things. He was going to research it. You come in the next day and it was done. And done in such a manner that you didn't even think it could be done that way.
Yeah.
That's what you look for, guys that are problem solvers, and he was that. Still energetic, understood his role, and very supportive, and did that to a great extent.
How insanely competitive is Robert? Because I look at him today, and he's approaching mid-40s, I'd say now.
40, yeah, right around there somewhere.
Yeah, right around there. And he's about 225 pounds.
Rocked up,
less than 10% body fat. A guy on the golf course, he's a maniac.
Without question.
A maniac as far as whether it's Peloton or inside the weight room.
Yes.
Can you talk about his competitive nature?
Every morning we have a little coaching workout group in the mornings at 6:15. So we get in there, and then Coach Saleh comes in here. He doesn't work out in our group because he has his own special workout, but he's over there. He's over there competing against himself.
Yeah.
Trying to do better than he did before or the week before. He has a competitive spirit, and he wants to do better each time. Like I talked about before, we have projects or things of those natures. He wants to do it, but he wants to take it to the next level. So, but I think that permeates all parts of his life and his livelihood, whether it's his family, whether it's his coaching, whether it's his coaching style, coaching staff. He's always pushing to get better. How can we get better? And I think you see that passion come out a lot of times on the field.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
So you just talked about the Saints. You're working on Sean Payton's staff. You ended up winning a ring there.
We did.
What did you take away from Payton? What did you learn from him?
Oh man, I don't think we have enough time to say that because it's a ton of things. Just and he leaned on others. That's one of the main things that I learned, that he would always talk about the people that he reached out to, some other championship coaches that he had spent time with in his career, and he would always bring some of their ideas into us. So I learned from that. It's okay to go outside with your mentors and ask, how did you do this? And to be able to be transparent and say, hey, I learned it. All right, we're going to do this, and I learned it from this person, and here's the why. I think that is one of the main things, along with a ton of other things that I brought in that I try to use as well, that I don't have all the answers. I'll never have all the answers, and it's okay to use the resources that you have.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people, we're not reinventing the wheel. Football's football. They run the ball, we tackle them. They throw it, we knock it down or intercept it. That's not going to change. So some people have done that before us. So it's okay to ask those questions, and then you take it and you modify it based off of what you can do. And another thing, one of many, once again, that I learned from him is using your pieces, your players that you have, and what can they do best, and not ask them to do things that they don't do well. Not that you're not going to work on those things, but you're going to maximize what they do best right now while you bring them up to speed on those other things, and then use them in that way, and try to find different ways to do the same thing but make it look different to defense, make it look different to the offense, but you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Using that guy's skills, so it's a lot of things I learned from him, a lot of them. Winning is another one I learned from him.
Yeah. How fun is it going to be for you week 5, you go to Denver, and Peyton's calling plays across from you, and you guys are going to be going toe to toe.
No, it's going to be, and it's not our first time.
Right.
It's been many, many times before. Actually, when I left there, I went to Jacksonville, and our very first preseason game was back in the Dome.
Yeah.
And we won that game. It was a preseason game, but we won it.
Preseason game.
We won it. And I think it's probably 50-50 in the games that we've played. Even when Drew was there, we had some success, and obviously they had some success as well. I'm kind of used to that part, kind of detach myself from that. You love to see him before the game, shake his hand, and obviously check on his family and those kind of things. Probably reminisce on some of the tough times that we had early on there. But it's going to be awesome in that aspect. And there's a funny story. When I was at my last year in Miami, head coach there, the last preseason game, he will pick someone to be the defensive coordinator. So I was the defensive coordinator for that game, and that's from day one. So right after our third preseason game, we take it over.
Okay.
So we did the meetings, we did all the game prep, we did everything, and it was challenging because you still had to coach a position,
right?
As well. And that game was in the Dome against New Orleans when Sean Payton was calling the plays. So I'm like, once he knows I'm the coordinator, I know he's going to try to light me up.
Did he try to light you up in the preseason?
No, we ended up winning. That's the first thing. But I knew how the game was going, so I knew at some point he's going to pull the trigger and push the ball down the field. So I kind of had the guys ready for that moment. He did try to push it down the field. I think we either won it or tied it. I know we didn't lose it.
Okay.
I do know that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
So you mentioned Brees before. Now you're going out there in the practice field, and you guys have Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Blessings.
Yes.
Special.
Both of those guys special.
That's right.
Can you and you've faced Rodgers before. I know this.
Many times.
But can you talk about the similarities between those two guys? I mean, and then we can talk about, obviously, there are obvious differences, but the similarities, what kind of things they bring to the table?
That's a really good question. Don't want to compare them too much.
Right.
I would say the thing that I compare the most, they're both the quarterbacks. All right.
Yeah.
They both know how to win. They both won Super Bowls. All right. One of the biggest things I would say is that they have a presence about them that you really can't put your finger on. They are both leaders of men, and it comes naturally to them. They don't have to strain to lead. They lead by example. They lead by just their presence and how they do things, and people naturally gravitate to them and they watch them, and they're okay with that. They're okay in their own skin, being them and being able to lead in their way. Definitely different types of leadership characteristics they have, but they both are very positive, great teammates. And obviously, I wasn't their teammate. I wasn't Drew's teammate, but watching from a coaching perspective, all those guys love to play with and for him. They play hard for him.
Yeah.
And the same thing, just with my limited experience watching Aaron right now, it's the same thing. The minute he walks in, it's obviously instant credibility because of who he is, but it's just his presence. It's a very welcoming, engaging presence that it is permeated through the building, it's permeated through the offense, and also through the defense. He comes up and they ask questions of the defense, ask questions of our guys, and is willing to share that information. Some of the biggest lessons that I learned from a secondary standpoint was talking to Drew.
Really?
And some of the things that he looked at, and I use them every year with our guys. Same thing when I was with Stafford. Stafford was the same way in regards to being a great communicator and helping me out grow as a coach, helped me out a lot growing as a coach in regards to some of the things they're doing, some of the reads they have, some of the whys, and that to me will make the teams grow, that willingness to share that information, because it's critical. We're all trying to win. We're all trying to win, and those are some of the similarities I would say.
Jets fans, we're in our final push and the clock is ticking. WynnBET is giving you a golden opportunity to win VIP prizes for the 2023 season. The WynnBET Green Room is the most exclusive space at the stadium with all-inclusive food and beverage, lower-level seats, and appearances by Jets legends and celebrities. New Jersey customers, all you need to do is wager at least $100 on WynnBET Sportsbook or Casino. For New York customers, all you need to do is wager at least $100 on WynnBET's Sportsbook. The best part? You get an entry for every $100 you wager.
It's interesting you just mentioned Stafford, because as soon as you did, I started thinking about these great quarterbacks. Tom Brady, after they were running New England, he goes to Tampa, he wins the Super Bowl.
I like where you're going.
Peyton,
I like where you're going.
Peyton Manning has this unbelievable run
Keep
in
talking.
Indianapolis, goes to Denver,
Keep talking to
wins
me.
the Super Bowl.
Keep talking.
Matt Stafford
Let's go.
puts up big numbers in Detroit.
Ooh, keep
He
talking.
never experienced that success, but then year one wins the championship with the Rams.
That's pressure.
There's precedence here.
There's
though.
precedence. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, this has
It is.
happened.
It is.
This can happen.
Right. It's not hypothetical. It's happened. We've seen it, and we've seen it in recent years. But, one of the things we talked to our guys about, and I talked to our group about, is that we can't worry about that right now. We just have to win today.
Yeah.
And before that, our smaller goal is to win this meeting. And it starts with me. I have to win when I go into that room as a coach. I have to have a winning attitude. My meetings had to be done, and I have to prepare like I'm a winning coach, so they can have an opportunity to learn from what I'm saying. All right, so they can win that meeting. And then after that, we chalk that up, and then we go out and win our walkthrough from a communication standpoint, an execution standpoint, a competitive communication standpoint, and then we go win that period. And then you add that up at the end of the day, and then you earn the right for one more day to go out there and do it again, and you just keep doing it, and you just keep doing it. Then success happens, and then we go have fun on Sunday.
Have you told the fellas about your ring with New Orleans?
They know, but I don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it?
No, because this is about the now. Now sometime I may go back and make reference to it, or someone else may make reference to it, but it's so long ago. Some of these guys, maybe in middle school, elementary school, and they're really
not long ago for me. I remember that game.
You remember? Yeah. I remember too. It's
down
pretty
in
nice.
Miami. And
Down
speaking
in
of Manning,
that's right.
Yeah.
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 That was,
you beat a pretty good player.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good team right there.
It was kind of funny because we were winning. They ended up we get an interception. We ran it back for a touchdown. We're up by 2 scores, and everyone's celebrating. It was in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, listen. Congratulations, that's a good job right there. But it's Peyton Manning over there. We cannot celebrate too long right now because he's gonna go back down and he doesn't care. He can go down there and score, get onside kick, and go score again, and they win. So we got to celebrate it, be happy about it. Good job. But that play is over. Let's move on to the next one. We got to get him back off the field. We don't want him with the ball in his hand at all.
What can you tell us on camera as far as how you celebrated that win?
It was pretty subdued because
Really?
it was kind of a numbing feeling. I would say that.
Yeah?
I just remember being on the field. My wife came down the field and was celebrating. You kiss the trophy. First of all, I'm a mini germaphobe, so everyone's kissing his trophy, but I didn't care. I kissed the trophy too,
Yeah.
So I let my guard down. But I tell you what, with all the pomp and circumstance that were involved with that, it really hit me when I got in the locker room, and even the celebration in the locker room initially, and there was some liquid being poured on people. We won't say what kind of liquid, but they shake it and throw it. Maybe kids watching, don't do it. 21 years old. All right. But it's when I started to take a shower, I looked up in the corner, and they had a TV up there, and it says New Orleans Saints. It was Sports Illustrated, I believe. You have won the Super Bowl. They were selling like the memorabilia and the memberships to the Sports Illustrated. So you have won the Super Bowl. And it finally hit me. I was like, wow, we won the Super Bowl. And that's the moment I remember the most. My wife, celebrating with her on the field, in that moment, and then looking in our players' eyes, the moment, the feeling of relief, accomplishment, all the blood, the sweat, the tears, and that's what I want for our guys here. You know what I mean? I want, because I have done it before, obviously I want another. I got a bunch of fingers and only got one ring, and my wedding ring in that one. All right, I want it for them. I want them to remember these hard days in May.
Yeah.
The hard days, the hard nights, the soreness, and to have them have that success. A coach told me a long time ago, he said, we're going to walk together today, but we're going to live together forever. And that's what those moments bring.
Yeah.
That group of guys, when we see each other, it's instant love. You can never take it away.
That's special fraternity.
And that's what I want for our guys. That's what that's a driving force for me. That's a passion, because I want them to have the success. I want them to be able to provide for their families, live their dreams, be able to financially provide for their families. All right, but to win it is something totally different. It's the extra sauce, it's special.
Speaking of sauce, man, you're inside my head.
Who's that?
You're inside my head right now. How cool is that for you as a coach to watch Aaron Rodgers invite Sauce out for a night on the town, New York City, to go to a fancy dinner, and then they're sitting by Jessica Alba courtside at the Knicks game?
Right.
Yeah.
He is the course that he's on right now is kind of really unprecedented in a lot of ways, just because where we are in society, in my opinion, in regards to like social media and just being available to people all the time, and to have the success that he's had as a young person within that media market, and within the social media aspect of things, it elevates it even more. So there's a lot on his plate, but he's still a young man.
Yeah.
That's still experiencing life. So to be able to see him have those moments to experience life as a young man, not as Sauce Gardner, but as a young man. Now he's had that experience because he's Sauce. He was in that seat and with Aaron Rodgers because he's Sauce, but still have a young man experience with people you don't know, like new things. That's interesting and fun to watch him grow as a young man, and he's a phenomenal young man, and all our guys are. We have our organization have done a phenomenal job with the guys that they selected and brought into this building. They brought good people, good men. So he's a reflection of everyone in our room, everyone on our defense, and all the guys we have on our team just in general. He just one of the guys who've had some success that everyone's kind of gravitated towards. But he is a wonderful young man, has a phenomenal upside. And I keep telling him, people think they know what he is, and they think they've seen how good he can be, but they have no idea yet.
Okay,
we're just scratching the surface.
Why'd you two hit it off immediately? I'm talking pre-draft process.
Oh,
I'm not talking about when you're on the staff. I'm talking about
during the whole process.
After pro day, he points to where you guys went for breakfast after his workout.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about? You knew he was a special player, but there was more than that.
Well, when you talk to people, obviously we were selecting high, and every coach in the building is, hoping that they get their player picked at that time. So I know when you select a guy with that type of pick, it has to be the right person. All right, obviously we know about the athleticism and what he has to do from a performance standpoint, but that person has to be the right person for you as a coaching staff. We have to have a good connection. I always say we're entering into a relationship right now. Kind of like a marriage almost. We're going to have to be able to work together. I'm going to have to be able to work and talk and coach you. All right. So when we have those meetings, as informal as it was for going to breakfast, we need to learn more about each other as men. Some of the things that he wants out of life, the things that I want out of life. Because if all those things are aligned, we know about the talent. All right, you have to have that, and you learn more about the man. Because the man is right, the football's going to be right. If you get the right person, all right, and he is right on the field and off the field, all right, the football's going to fall in line. So it's important. It was important for us, like it is for all coaches. Not that my philosophy is any different than anyone else's, but it was very important for me to get to know him as a human, get to know his family, get to see him around other people in this building and how they respond to him, how he responds to them, how he treats them, because we want to bring the right person in the building. I look for someone that if my daughter's around them, I feel comfortable with that. If my wife is walking down the hall, I feel comfortable with that interaction. And he checks all those boxes. But we hit it off well. Brought him here, and he had dinner with us and with one of our coach's son, and just to watch. We were at dinner, and Coach Obrick's son came, and to watch them connect and talk, and he gave him genuine attention. It was a one-on-one. I'm watching this. I'm like, that's a guy.
Yeah. That's
a real guy. He wasn't like he was just like, pacifying them, talking to him. He was talking because he was interested in what he had to say. This is a high schooler. So I knew we had the right guy. It was no doubt in my mind that he was going to be successful and we were going to work well together.
So what's next for him? Because I know that was a proud moment for you in January when he gets Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Not only does he get that, he's a Pro Bowler. He's a first-team All-Pro. I mean, he had all these 3 boxes. He checked them all. But what is next for him?
Well, I think with him, and we've talked about it, so I'm not going to say anything on here that we haven't talked about. The sky's the limit for him. The sky's the limit. But we got a couple secret things that I can't tell you. No, I'm just joking. No, it just.
I know. And one thing he's talked about is interceptions, and that's something that Roberts talked about as well. Is that he led the NFL PDs, which is incredible.
That's right.
But now it's coming down with a few more of them.
Right, and it's to me when you have a young player that's playing in general, all right, especially one that's playing at a high level, you don't want to tweak his technique too much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when you tweak something, there's a learning process and a learning curve in that. So I wanted to make sure that I accentuated the things that he can do well. Once again, not the things that he has to work on in those moments, and we still worked on those things throughout the season. But I want to make sure I refine that technique to make sure the number one job for corners is not to have them catch the ball. That's the number one job.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank. Now the extra meat on the bone or the icing on the cake, all right, is the interception. And that's what we're going to get to those. But it's so many other parts of his game.
Sure.
That's one thing. That's going to come. There's no doubt in my mind, 0 doubt in my mind that those things are going to happen if they continue to throw over there. But there's so many other things that we can work on. That's why I say that people think they saw a great player last year. If he continues to trend and put the work in that he is doing, that we expect him to do, there's going to be a little something extra in there.
Yeah, he could certainly get the Darrelle Revis treatment because he's so good that people are going to stay away from him.
You never know, but that's always, I definitely don't want to compare those two guys because they are different. I coached Darrelle for 1 year down in Tampa. They are very different human, have a different skill sets.
Right.
Very different skill sets, but they both are very, very good, obviously, at what they do. So he's gonna continue to grow his game. Learning football, splits, formations, situational things, getting stronger, giving more tools. I always talk about giving guys tools and a tool belt. Rookies usually I may give them 2 tools. You got a hammer and a Phillips head screwdriver. That's it. That's it. Now you master that hammer, you master that Phillips head. Okay, now you got a flat head. Now you got a wrench.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not using that wrench well. Give me that wrench back for a while. Let's go back to these 3 tools that we can use. Now you can use that one. It's a slow burn. I think you have to take your time and teach the technique and get guys doing it the correct way first before you throw everything at them. You master some things. You got that? Let's move on. Now, some people can master it faster than others, so you got to be able to accelerate some of that growth in some of those techniques and those tools. I got a bunch of tools in my toolbox over here. I'm ready for them to use them.
I know you do, and I don't want to oversimplify this, but the scouting report on Sauce coming out was he's long, he's physical, he's great in man press. Well, what became clear during his rookie season under you, under Ulbrich, under Robert, is that he thrives in zone. Why was he able to do that?
He's smart. When you mentioned talking about like West Point players, one of the things that they can understand formations because they are high-level thinkers. He is a smart player and he's also a problem solver. That's me. It's one of the things I look for in the guys that I would like to coach that are problem solvers because the offense are going to do something unscripted. They get paid money over there too. They're prideful too. They're not going to always give you exactly what you've seen on film. Most time they will, but they're going to have a couple of wrinkles every game. And who are the guys that can problem solve on the field, and recognize things quickly enough before they get to the sideline? Because the good offenses aren't going to let DBs get to the sideline for us to make the correction.
Right.
They're going to do it within that drive. And if you don't fix it on the field, that next first down or that next third down, that same thing or the play they're setting up is going to come afterwards. Is going to come next. So he can do that. He can problem solve. and he is smart, so he can recognize formations and splits in the situation of the game and know that I'm not going to get this route because of the split. Or it may be the same split right here, but he outside release as opposed to inside release, so I know I'm only getting this. So I'm not going to play all those other things that can happen. I'm going to play the two things that he can do versus that release.
You know what?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And I want to talk about a couple of your other guys, but you're a great coach, so you're explaining this to me.
I'm around good players.
And I'm digesting this. But one of the things that, and tell me if this is a wrong way of viewing this, but one of the ways I viewed it last year with Sauce is that Stephon Diggs made a catch on you guys' first play of the game at MetLife Stadium. And after the game, this
double move out and up.
Yes. It stood out to me. He said, that's not what they do. They broke tendency there. And the more that he sees that over time, like that will be another tool that he has at his arsenal. But that just said to me that he knows exactly the way they're trying to attack you.
And that's one of the things that the growth his growth is going to continue pretty quickly because of that. And I learned this from Revis actually. Certain players get certain things. Generically speaking, when you look at the film, we always talk about, okay, here's what they do in this formation, in this situation. Relatively speaking, it may be these two things in this, maybe these three things in this formation. All right, but it's only one thing when they do this motion.
Right.
That's very generic thought process, and it's correct. But the other factor, the X factor of that is who is the individual that they're going against. All right, certain individuals have a certain skill set that they're going to do certain things from. So even though you may have seen them do it on film, that guy's not going to get that. Like Revis wouldn't get curl routes, slant routes, because he was very patient at the line of scrimmage. So that even though they may have done it 100 times on film, he's not going to get that route.
Right.
There were certain routes we had to identify that he was going to get. And it's the same thing with Sauce. There's certain routes that even though we may see it on film, that he's going to get. Because he has some length, they're going to do certain things to negate his length. They're going to do different things with the formations. They may have different motions to it. They may try to use a double move to get him up off so they can try to create some space. But the other factor in that is the player that's doing it. Not everyone can create space. Not everyone can create or have the speed to allow that separation on the double moves. You know what I mean? So that's part of the growth. That one of the many things that he's going to get better and better and better at, because now he's going to be able to make book on certain players, certain coordinators. This coordinator attacked me this way. So even though maybe a different year, this is how he attacks me, potentially.
Yeah, he's just going to have more chapters in that book.
I don't know. That happens, may or not happen. I'm just saying those are factors.
Yeah.
But that's coaching.
Yeah.
But we, like I said, we have so many guys that like DJ Reed is unbelievable. But he gets different things at times. When they want to go over there, they're going to get different things. Michael Carter, who is probably one of the best problem solvers that I've ever been around, he's going to get, if they want to go in that direction, they're going to do different things, different than if I was playing nickel.
You've been awesome with the time. We got to let you get going, but I got two quick ones. You just mentioned MC the second, and also DJ. Did you know? You guys knew DJ was a good player.
Yes.
And you had high expectations for him.
Extremely high.
Did you think he was going to thrive that much?
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Zero hesitation. No doubt about it.
Wow.
I was with him for a second in San Francisco.
So unique, though. He's so unique.
It's our room is built specifically. We have a smaller, quick, gritty, bite your face off DJ Reed.
Yeah.
Who's highly competitive and serious. And we have another guy on the other side, has a little length and some speed. You know what I mean? So they complement each other. You have MC as a problem solver, and he can do it all. You know what I mean? He can play big boy ball and make big tackles like a linebacker. He can cover like a corner. He can go out there and run the defense and problem solve it. So we have a very good mixture of human beings. And then we have Brandon Echols. Bryce Hall, and the other guy that works back there, we work hand in hand, is Ricky Manning Jr. Now, he's the guy that's played in the league, so he can coach the nickel, better than anyone else that I've been around. So our organization has done a good job of giving us the pieces to be successful. Now we just got to go out there and earn the right to do it one more time.
Can you talk about the opportunity? This is where we're going to end. The opportunity ahead of you, as far as with the league is concerned. And I talked to Ron Middleton about this before. There are 3 black head coaches in the National Football League. That's for 5th consecutive year. The league is trying to do something to change that.
Right.
Can you talk about the program that you're going to be a part of this year and what that means to you?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's a coaches in front office acceleration program that we're going to pretty soon here, and it's a way for us to kind of go and meet with the front office, some owners and some general managers, and kind of find out and hear the process, because we are in a lot of those meetings as assistant coaches, whether it be salary cap or just league business and those kind of things. So I think getting a better appreciation for those kind of things can get you in position, at least have a better understanding. If you are afforded the opportunity to interview for one of those things and they ask you these questions, you can have a better foundation to speak on, because you have heard some of that stuff before. The other thing is, I think it exposes, and it's different when you shake someone's hand and you look them in the eye and you get a chance to talk to them. All right, they can get a pretty decent feel of the man that you are, the man that you can be, because now you have a intimate relationship with that person, as opposed to just reading about it. So it allows some exposure. I think it's a phenomenal thing that the NFL, they're being forward thinking in that. They're being very deliberate in exposing both sides to each other.
Yeah.
And I obviously haven't gone yet, but from what I understand, there's great dialogue between the owners and the other front office. There's great sharing of information and ideas both ways. So we can understand each other. We can understand the direction of the league, the direction of our society, and hopefully that will lead to other opportunities, whether it be for me or for the next person.
Yeah.
To me, I think that I always look at things like if what I'm doing is obviously I want them to be successful and I want our players to be successful, but I want the person that's going to replace me one day or coming behind me to be successful, because I have not messed it up for them. That I have carried myself in a certain way that makes it easy for the next person, to make a long story short. So whether it works out for me, hopefully it does, but if it doesn't work out for me, hopefully I would open the door, or at least not let a door close for the next man behind me because of me, if that makes sense.
We're going to have to catch up after that program, and maybe at some point in training camp we can get some kind of progress report. But T.O., this was a lot of fun.
No, I appreciate the time. Let's go. Jets, Jets, Jets. Let's go.